All right, final lesson of the year, final lesson of Algebra 2A, 4.4, 4.5, is all about factoring and solving for x. Okay, factoring. On your Schoology page, right on the front page, below the Chapter 4 folder, we're down on Chapter 4, right below that Chapter 4 folder is this Guide to Factoring. This is a worksheet, or not a worksheet, this is just a little helpful, hintful sheet that you can use to help factor. Okay, factoring is a tougher concept that we struggle with. First one I want to look at is looking for common factors. Okay, looking for common factors should be the first thing you do in any problem when you're solving for x. Look for common factors. They give you the example, 3x squared minus 9x plus 15. Okay, what do those three, each of those terms, 3x squared, 9x, and 15, what do they all have in common? They all have a 3 in common. They're all divisible by 3. So you take out a 3, and multiply it by what's left. They took out a 3. Well, what's left with 3x squared? Just the x squared. So we took that 3 out. Took out a 3 from negative 9. Well, if you divide negative 9 by 3, you're going to get negative 3. And then 15 divided by 3 is just 5. So look for common factors. In any situation, look for common factors and then take it out. In a binomial, we're really focusing just on these two here, sum of cubes and difference of cubes. Okay, cube numbers. Here, they give the example 8 and x cubed. X cubed is a cube number, right? X cubed. X times x times x. It's multiplied 3 times. 8 is also a cube number, right? 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2, that's 4. Times 2 is 8, right? So 8 is a perfect cube. And its cube root is 2. 125 is a cube root. It's 5 times 5 times 5, right? 25 times 5, 125. Okay. So, when you get the sum or difference of perfect cubes, we break it off into this equation. A plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. Or if it was the difference of cubes, it's the exact same thing, just with a few different symbols. Right? Instead of plus, it's minus. Instead of minus, it's plus. Just a few different symbols. Same exact equation, different symbols. What they do, right? Let's just take a look at this first one. 8x cubed plus 125. We have a cubed. What is a? Well, it's whatever the cube root of 8x cubed is. Well, the cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of x cubed is x. That's where they get 2x from. Okay, they have b cubed. It's 125. We have to find out what b is. It's 5, right? 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And then it's just plugging it in to this. A squared. Well, what's 2x squared? 2 squared is 4. X squared is x squared. Minus ab. So we just multiply our a and b. 2x and 5. That's 10x. And then plus b squared. That's that last number. 5 squared. That's all it is. And we'll get into a few example problems here in a little bit. Trinomial. Trinomial. Talk about it in a second. And then grouping. 4 terms factored by grouping. I'll show an example on that as well. Okay? Whenever you see four terms, we're thinking grouping. But always, 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 always start by looking for common factors. Okay? In our notes, we start off easy. We have 2x plus 6 equals 0. I just want you to get the feel of how do we solve for x. And how do I solve for x here? Well, we subtract 6, subtract 6. 2x equals negative 6, x equals negative 3. Let's try to solve that a different way. Can I factor out a 2? Yeah, of course. 2x, that is a 2. 6 is divisible by 2. So I can take 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. Okay. You get something like this? What could you do? Well, you could divide that 2 out. So you get x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3, x equals negative 3. Same problem. Same answer. Okay, but now, what happens if we get 3x squared minus 7x equals 0? Pay attention. This is where the true solve and factoring comes into play. First thing I want you to do, look for common factors. What do these two things have anything in common? They do. The 3 and the 7, they don't have anything in common, right? 7 is not a multiple of 3. They both have an x, so we can actually take an x out. X times 3x, just what's left. We multiply what's left. Well, I took 1x out of 3x squared, so what's left? 1x. Minus 7. I took that x away from the 7. Equals 0. Okay, when you get to here, I know last time we divided by the 2 out front. That's not what we do. That is not what we do here. When you factor it completely, then you just set it equal to 0. Take each thing that's factored, set it equal to 0. So we're going to take this x. We're going to set it equal to 0. We're going to take this 3x minus 7 and set it equal to 0. So, first answer, x equals 0. It makes sense. Go back to your original equation, way up here. If x equals 0, well then I'd have 0 minus 0, which equals 0. So x is equal to 0. A lot of people forget that answer. You cannot forget it, because it is an answer. Let's go back to our 3x minus 7 equals 0. How do I solve from there? Solve for x. Add 7, so we get 3x equals 7. Then we're just going to divide by 3. So x equals 7 over 3. Yeah. Now, next one. We have a trinomial. X squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. First thing I want you to do, look for common factors. X squared and 6x, they have an x in common, but in order to take out an x, this last number would have to have at least one x. And I don't see an x with that 8. So there are no common factors. 0. We factored this before. When we have a trinomial, we break it down into two binomials. Okay, and we ask ourselves, how can we go from this binomial, or these two binomials, back to this trinomial? In order to do so, well, I need to have x times x. That'll give me this x squared. Now, I need to find the factors of 8. All factors of 8. 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and I believe that's it. Perfect. Fill in the factors of 8. What am I going to put in these two spots here? What am I going to put here and here? I'm looking to see what of these factors, 1 and 8 or 2 and 4, add up to 6. And you should already know that 2 and 4 are going to add up to 6. The biggest mistake I see are these symbols in the middle. Is it a plus plus? Is it a plus minus, minus plus, or minus minus? Well, I always look at that middle term. It's a positive 6. Well, how do I get from 2 and 4 to be a positive 6? Well, I need a positive 2 plus a positive 4 to give me a positive 6. And this whole thing is still equal to 0. Okay, I factored. After I factor completely, I set it equal to 0. Take this x plus 2. Set it equal to 0. That's what I did. Take this x plus 4. Set it equal to 0. In red, we're gonna subtract 2. We're gonna get x equals negative 2. There's one answer. In this black marker, we're going to subtract 4. We're going to get x equals negative 4. Done. It's our final answer. Okay. Next problem. We have x squared minus 7x minus 10 equals 0. First thing I want you to do, find a common factor. Find a common factor. X squared and 7. Okay, they both have an x. That's good. But this 10 does not have an x. So we cannot factor anything else. Instead, it's just like that last problem. We have a trinomial. We think, okay, let's break it into two binomials. We know that x times x gets us x squared. We have to find the factors of 10. Not negative 10. We don't care about that negative, just 10. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. Now, which of these adds to negative 7? Which of these adds to negative 7? Well, we think 2 and 5, right? Let's do 2 and 5. Okay. 2 and 5 add to 7. Now, what are our middle symbols? We need to get to a negative 7. Well, I know negative 2 minus 5 is the only way I can get to negative 7. But, watch what happens when I multiply this out. X times x, I get x squared. That's great. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. But what's negative 2 times negative 5? It's a positive 10. So I get x squared minus 7x equals plus 10. Which isn't what we have here. So, how do I solve this? How do I solve this problem? Well, the one thing that never fails, solving for x when a trinomial, is the quadratic formula. Alright? But, you guys know how to do that. You guys just got done with this. I want to focus on factoring. Let's just change this minus to a positive, just for the sake of this. Okay. So we're going to get x and x. We're going to get 2 and 5. We're going to have minus and minus. Equals 0. Solve for x. So I factor completely, so I'm going to get x minus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to get x minus 5 equals 0. X equals 2. x equals 5. Done. Next one, 9m to the 5th equals 27m to the 3rd. What's different with this one than the rest of these up top? It's not equal to 0. So I'm going to make it equal to 0. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 27m and I'm just going to move it over here. So I'm going to get 9m to the 5th minus 27m to the 3rd equals 0. Now, look for common factors. 9 and 27. What's our common factor? 9. 9 goes into 9. 9 goes into 27. So I'm going to take out a 9. I can also take out, well, we have 5 m's here and 3 m's here. What's the most m's I can take out? 3. That's going to be multiplied by m. What's left here? Well, I took out a 9, so the 9 goes away. I took out 3m, so 2 are left. Minus 27 divided by 9 that I took out is 3. And I took out 3 m's already, equals 0. Okay. Solve for m. Well, I have factored completely. Now I just set equal to 0. 9m to the 3rd equals 0. Here's what you can do. You can divide by 9. So m cubed equals 0. You can take the cubed root, or you can just understand that m has to equal 0. There's one answer. Next answer, we get m squared minus 3 equals 0. Add 3. So m equals square root of 3. Not only that, it's plus or minus square root of 3. Remember, when we take the square root, we're solving for a variable here. We have to remember plus or minus. Have to remember plus or minus. Next one. We have a trinomial, just like the ones above. But there's something different. One, can I factor out anything? Well, we actually have a number here, 2 and 11 and 21. Well, in order to take a 2 out, 2 is a prime number, so I think that goes into 2 besides 1. To take out a 2, 11 and 21 would have to be divisible by 2. Is that the case? No. I have an x squared here and an x, but I don't have an x there, so can't take out anything. No common factors. What's different with this trinomial and the ones above is we have this number out front. Now, pay attention. Easy way to solve this. It's this method right here. Slide, divide, bottoms up. We're going to take this 2. We're just going to slide it over to the 21. So we're going to be left with x squared minus 11x. We're going to multiply 21 by 2. Okay, now, a trinomial with nothing in front. We know how to solve this. It's 2 binomials. X times x. We have to look for the factors of 42. 1 times 42. 2 times 21, 3 times, is it 14? 4, no 4. 5, no. 6 times 7. And look for what adds up to negative 11. 3 and 14, right? And how do I get to a negative 11? I need a negative 14 and a positive 3. And And I know that positive 3 times negative 14 is negative 42, so we're good. This is going to equal 0. Okay. That was my slide. Now I have to divide. I did the slide. Now I have to divide. What we're going to do is divide these green numbers, 3 and 14, by the number we slid, 2. If you can simplify the fraction, do it. Over on this right side, we're going to get x minus 7. Okay. Simplified that fraction. On the left side, 3 divided by 2 isn't a whole number, so what we're going to do is take that 2, and we're going to bottoms up, throw it in front of that x. 2x plus 3. Now I factor completely. What I have to do is, it's not going to help, it's not going to move. What I have to do is set both of these equations equal to 0. 2x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3, divide by 2, x equals negative 3 halves. Over here, x minus 7, well, x equals 7. Done. Slide, divide, bottoms up. Makes it easy to factor. Next, I mentioned perfect cubes earlier. I want to go through the perfect cubes. 1 is a perfect cube. 1 is a perfect cube. Why? Because 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 8 is a perfect cube. Why? Because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. I want to figure out what all the perfect cubes are, down to the number 6. Do we know what 3 times 3 times 3 is? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 is a perfect cube. 4 times 4 times 4, well, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. 64 is a perfect cube. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And then 6 times 6 times 6, I have to look at what 36 times 6 is. I believe it's 343. Nope, 216, sorry. 216. So, here are all our perfect cubes. Good information to have. Let's move down here. It says find the zeros of the function. Okay. I threw this in here just so you guys don't get confused. It says x cubed minus 125 equals f of x. Okay. Instead of f of x, they want us to find the zeros. Okay, set it equal to 0. That's all it is. We can factor x cubed minus 125. We can factor x cubed minus 125. Why? Because they're perfect cubes. The formula for perfect cubes is a cubed minus b cubed equals a, I believe it's a minus b. I'm going to go back to my guide for factoring. I have the sum, it's the difference of perfect cubes. Difference of perfect cubes, I'm looking right here. A minus b times, okay, so a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. And no, I'm not expecting you to memorize this. The difference of perfect cubes. So, I already have a cubed minus b cubed. That's right here. X cubed minus 125. I have to figure out what a is. Figure out a by taking the cube root of x cubed. That's just x, right? X times x times x is x cubed. Then I have to figure out what's the cube root of 125. That's 5. I just found a minus b. Now I have to multiply that by a squared. Yeah, well, what's a squared? It's x squared plus a times b, that's all these together, 5x plus b squared. B squared, b was 5, so 5 squared is 25. Okay. We can find the zeros of this function. Here I factored it completely. Take this x minus 5, that equals 0. So x equals 5. This one, x squared plus 5x plus 125. It's going to be a little difficult. We're going to actually have to use the quadratic formula. And I'm not going to go through that today. When you get the sum or your difference of perfect cubes, it'll probably just say factor. It won't say solve. It'll just say factor. And I just want you to come up with that formula. Again, we have the difference of perfect cubes here. 27 is a perfect cube, right? It's 3. So our a is going to be 3. What's that? X. And b will be 2. Because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. There's a and b. All I want to do is just factor this. I don't care about solving. A squared. Well, 3 squared is 9. X squared is x squared. Plus a times b. We are multiplying 3x times 2. That's 6x. And plus b squared. 2 squared is 4. Done. That's all of this. And next one. Next one, solve for x. I have an equation that's not equal to 0. I'm going to change it quickly. I'm going to say v cubed minus 2v squared minus 16v plus 32 equals 0. I'm going to look for common factors. There's no number in front of v cubed, so I can't take out a number. And I don't see a v with 32, so I can't take out any v. So there's no common factors, which is fine. I have 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go to my guide for factoring thing. 4 terms. So this says trinomial, this says binomial. Oh, no. Ah, right here. If a polynomial has 4 terms, factor by grouping. Okay, I know what grouping is. I'm going to show you right here. Factor by grouping. Grouping means we're going to factor by taking out whatever these two have in common. Just the first two. V cubed minus 2v squared. They both have at least v squared. What's left here if I take out a v squared? Just 1v. What's left here if I take out a v squared? Just a negative 2. Then I'm going to do the same thing with these two. Negative 16v plus 32. What can I take out? I can actually take out a negative 16. This negative 16. Negative 16. Now, what's left? Well, if I took out a negative 16 from negative 16v, a v is left. If I took out a negative 16 from 32, I'm left with negative 2. Notice, these two things in parentheses are the exact same thing. That means I did it right. I'm good there. I solved it. Okay, now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those two, v minus 2, v minus 2, I'm going to put it in one parentheses. Down here. Just one. Not two, just one. I'm going to take what I have outside the parentheses, v squared minus 16, and put it in its own parentheses. This is equal to 0. There, I factored it completely. I can take this v minus 2, set it equal to 0, so v equals 2. V squared minus 16, I can set that equal to 0. Add 16, so v squared equals 16. Take the square root of 16. V equals positive or negative 4. No. Next one. Okay, it's not equal to 0. I'm going to do that first. I'm going to bring this over and this over. So I'm left with 2c to the 4th minus 6c to the 3rd minus 12c squared plus 36c. First thing I want to do, find a common factor. I see a 2 here. Can I take out a 2 from 6, 12, and 36? Yes, I can. Can I take out anything else? Yes, each of these has a c, so I can take out a c. What's left? Oh, if I took out a 2 and a c from here, I'm left with just c cubed. I'm left with minus 3c squared minus 6c plus 18. Okay. Now, not factored completely. Inside my parentheses, I have 4 terms. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to factor by grouping. What can I take out of there? I can take out a c squared. What's left? C minus 3. Do the same thing with negative 6c plus 18. I can take out a negative 6. What's left? Should be c minus 3. And now this whole thing is still multiplied by this 2c out front. Can't forget about it. All right, now I'm going to take what I have in my red marker here, c squared minus 6, put it in its own parenthesis. Take one of the c minus 3's, put it in its own parentheses. And this 2c is still up front. Done, factor completely. Now just solving for the letter c, that's it. C minus 3, set it equal to 0, so c is equal to 3. C squared minus 6, I'll do that over here, c squared minus 6 equals 0, c squared equals 6, so c equals plus or minus square root 6. And then finally, this 2c. 2c equals 0, divided by 2, c equals 0. Those are my answers. All right, last one. Last one. We can set this equal to 0. Sorry, I must have forgot to do that. We have x to the 4th minus 12x plus 36. Can I take anything out? No. There's no common factors. What we have here is a trinomial. What we did before was break this up into 2 binomials. But the thing is this x to the 4th. That's a little weird. So I'm going to do kind of what's a guess and check. I'm going to say x squared times x squared will give me x to the 4th. Everything else remains the same. Find the factors of 36. 1 times 36. 2 times 18. 3 times 12. 4 times 9. 6 times 6. There's my factors. Now, which of these adds up to 12? 6, and 6. And I know that negative 6 and negative 6 gives me negative 12. And then multiply those together, I get positive 36, so I'm good. Okay. That's it. It's actually pretty easy. It's just the same thing, just instead of x and x, we have x squared and x squared. Factor completely. You can take x squared minus 6, set that equal to 0. So x is equal to plus or minus square root 6. If I did the same thing down here, I get the exact same answer. So I can just stick with one of these. I don't have to write it out twice if I'm going to get the exact same answer. Okay, that is all of it.